Hello and welcome to the Global Dialogue. I'm Shereen, Bhan, and it is my pleasure to welcome back on the program the Global CEO of Alstom, Henri Lafarge, who's been in India previously but hasn't been here for a while now. Mr. Lafarge, many thanks for joining us here back on the program on Global Dialogue. The last conversation that you and I had in person was in 2018, so it's been a while since then. So welcome back.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for hosting me today. Yeah, it has been a while. We had COVID in the time, I have to say, but it's a pleasure to be here back.
Well, let me start by talking to you about the global outlook. It is a challenging environment that we live in today. Inflation, of course, continues to be a big worry and a big concern. How much of an impact is that likely to continue to have as far as the guidance that you've held out for 25-26?
Well, the global environment is pretty good for us globally. As you know, there are a lot of countries in the world which are investing in railway infrastructure. I mean, this is the most sustainable means of transportation, so not surprisingly, a lot of authorities, public authorities, are heavily investing in this means of transportation. So the global market is very nice for us. It's very positive, very buoyant, I have to say, from Europe to North America to Asia, and here, of course, we'll come back to that in India. So we have a very good prospect. And of course, we had some macroeconomic challenges in the previous years. We had the inflation, we had the supply chains as well, disruptions which had happened. But I think these things are more smoothing now in 2023. So we are moving positively towards next years. Okay, so moving positively, you had an unprecedented order backlog as well, in excess of 87 billion euros. So you feel confident that demand is going to continue to look strong for you in the year ahead? Yeah, definitively. I mean, the demand is extremely strong. We see the pipeline rising. We have in the next 18 months a record level of tenders to be submitted. So the pipeline has never been as big as it is today. Again, worldwide in the different regions of the world, it's probably one of the first time where all the continents are positively oriented. So there is no regions which are lagging behind. All the regions are heavily invested in rail. And whether it's for urban purposes, so a lot of metros with large cities investing in metros to replace cars, and whether it's also for mainline, and this is of course to allow people to be transported, but it's also a way to decrease the emission of CO2. I'll get to the green transition in just a second, but I want to talk to you now about your India plans, because you've of course been a long-term committed investor here in India. This is a big area where the government is accelerating its growth plans, its investment plans as well. How strong is the Indian market for you today? So let me tell you that India has been a fantastic growth story for us, both for the Indian market as well as for the export market. So yes, for the Indian market, we have the 2 or 3 main pillars. The first one being the urban market, where we have almost 50 cities with a metro project, and Alstom is involved in each and every metro project in all the cities in India, whether it is on rolling stock or signaling or infrastructure. So the urban market is buoyant. But the mainline market is extremely important now, both in terms of passenger mainline, and this is relatively new for us, in terms of components, traction equipment, as well as for locomotives, and we have as well a strong relationship with Indian Railway on locomotives. But for passengers, we have both for Indian Railway and as well as for RTS, you know, the Delhi-Meerut corridor. I want to talk about the India story with you a little bit more in specific. Last year, I believe it was your fastest growing market, that's 2022. Does it continue to be your fastest growing market? Absolutely. I mean, our turnover in India has grown by more than 40% this year. Again, back on the local market, the Indian market, which is booming, but we are also exporting more and more. You know that we have more than 25% of all the engineering being done in Alstom, which has been done in India, and we are aiming at 33%. 1/3 of the entire engineering activities of Alstom will be done in India. We have also our main traction components, the traction boxes factory, which is in Coimbatore, which is 1/3 of the market. We have that in India again. So you know that India for Alstom is today the first country in terms of number of employees. So the growth is supported both by the Indian market, which is growing very fast, as well as from a growing portion of export market as well.
€1 billion in turnover from India, that was the target that was set for 2023. Do you believe you're on track to be able to achieve that?
We have €4.2 billion of backlog to deliver, so yes, we are on track to this kind of number.
Okay, let's talk about the big opportunity that seems to be opening up, and that is the Vande Bharat opportunity. You've emerged as the lowest bidder, L1, as far as that over 30,000 crore rupee order is concerned. But there are reports suggesting that there is a renegotiation underway with the government of India. Can you shed some light on that for us?
Well, first of all, let me outline how important is this contract. It's the first time that we will put in India an aluminium technology at large scale. So we are going to deploy this technology, which we don't yet have in India. We have stainless steel technology, but we have the aluminium now technology, which will allow us to implement a hub for the export, an aluminium hub for the global export. So it's an extremely important, of course, project for Indian teams. It's an extremely important project for Indian Railway. I mean, it's a large railway award. Will allow as well to modernize some Indian railway factories, and it's also a very important project for going forward for the export of India. So I will not call it renegotiation, as always. We have conversation with Indian Railway to finalize the project, finalize the contract. As you can imagine, for such a large project, there are a lot of discussions, and we are discussing, and I'm very confident that we'll achieve these discussions.
But part of the discussion is the ask from the Indian government to bring down the price even lower, because I believe that it was set at 151 crores per train set, which was 11% lower than the next bidder, which was your competitor Stadler. So what is the ask of the government as you conduct these conversations?
Well, first of all, we believe that we made a very, very good price for this trains, of course, and you don't expect me to share with you all the day-to-day dialogue that we have. I mean, this is what we are. Again, I'm confident that we'll finalize the contract. Again, it is a fantastic project for Alstom, for the Indian Railway, and for the Make in India in general.
But while you can't discuss the specifics of the contract or the price negotiations, what's the timeline by when you expect clarity on moving forward with this?
As soon as possible.
As soon as possible. And what will that eventually, if this gets done and whatever price it gets done at, what will that mean in terms of operationalization of this? And, you know, what kind of investments will you need to make to be able to cater to this opportunity?
So one thing which is important to know is that, again, this will be a new technology. So we are starting actually to invest in terms of capabilities, in terms of know-how. So in Bangalore, we have a large engineering team to design these trains. Part of the trains and the aluminium technology will be done as well in the state of Gujarat, so in Savli, in our factory of Savli, where we are going to manufacture the body shell, and within the site of Indian Railway. So it's a several sites which will be involved, which will need heavy investment, both internally in Alstom and on the sites of Indian Railway.
Is there an estimate of what the requirement will be on the Alstom?
No, we don't have clear estimate there, but it's several tens of millions of euros.
Okay, that's as far as the Vande Bharat opportunity is concerned. And you know, is there any visibility on further tendering that the railway may do that you could be potentially interested in?
Well, as you know, the Indian Railway has launched several very large tenders. So as an equipment manufacturer, we are probably unique in that perspective that we have all the type of rolling stock. So we are producing locomotives, we are producing EMUs, so classical regional trains, intercities, push-pull, so with locomotives, with no locomotives. So we are potentially interested by all the tenders which will be launched by Indian Railways.
Okay, let's talk about the metro opportunity as well, because you've recently done further orders with the MP Metro Rail Corporation as well as the DMRC here in Delhi. How is that, you know, looking at this point in time, the metro landscape in India at this point in time, given your previous experience?
Well, we have an increasingly large number of cities which are being equipped with metros. You know that India has become the fourth metro network in the world after China, Japan, and the US, and is going day after day. So what is interesting is, of course, the cities which are already equipped or partially equipped with metros. First off, being Delhi, but also in Mumbai, they are extending the networks. or Bangalore is extending its network. We also add-ons in Chennai. So all the metros where we are already implemented are extending their networks. And we have new cities with new metros, and we have been awarded metros in cities. One of them, of course, extremely well known, which is Agra. We'll be extremely honored to be able to have a metro in Agra, but we have that in Kanpur, as we had in the past in Lucknow, in Kochi, or in Bhopal, and in other cities. So we have really metros being extended, and as I said, roughly up to 50 cities with some metro projects.
Given the growth that you see in the Indian market, as well as the further opportunity to be able to sort of expand here, what could the Asia-Pacific contribution look like for you over the next 5 years? So
globally, India for us is a footprint exporting not only engineering components, also exporting some complete trains, and we have exported trains in Australia, for example, both in Metro in Sydney, but also in Queensland. We have exported Metro in Montreal, so we are also exporting in different places of the world. Asia Pacific overall is probably the fastest growing part of the world for Alstom, and it's representing up to, I would say, 20% of Alstom, and it's growing fast. And we are present in Asia Pacific from Australia. You know that Australia is booming in terms of public transportation. It was probably lagging behind in the recent past, so they are investing a lot, particularly in urban transportation. We are very much present in Southeast Asia, in all countries of Southeast Asia. We have inaugurated a monorail quite recently, for example, in Bangkok, but we are present in Malaysia, in Singapore. We have a metro in Vietnam as well. We have also been just awarded a metro in Philippines. So as you can see, we are present in all these regions, in Taiwan as well. So it's a very large market for us, a very dense market, I would say.
You know, the export opportunity that you've been touching upon, and you believe that India is going to be able to leverage that for you and, of course, for the country as well. A slightly longer-term trajectory of how much headroom for growth potentially do you believe the export market could throw up for Alstom from India?
Well, I think it's an immense potential for the export. I mean, we are working with the Indian authority as well to make sure that financing is available. So we are working on some opportunities which were not envisaged before to Central Asia, to Middle East, Africa. As the manufacturing capabilities, the manufacturing quality is improving in India, more and more countries are open for the Indian imports on that case. There are also, and I clearly encourage that, a lot of discussion on free trade agreements between India and other countries, which will help for the import-export from India. So I can see that as a huge potential, which will be again coupled with local growth as well, because the market in India will grow very fast. So not be surprised that in the coming years, India will be by far the largest country for Alstom.
What's been interesting about the Indian market for you as you've gone about investing, especially in the last decade or so, as the infrastructure story has really come to open up? What's been the interesting and unique aspects of operating in India for you?
Well, what is unique? First, it has been a fantastic challenge for us. We started relatively small a few years ago, and quite timely, I have to say, because it was at the beginning of the ramp-up and the growth, infrastructure growth in India. And we have always been up to the expectations. So our colleagues in India have always kept up with all the expectations, both in terms of growth, because we had to recruit so many new colleagues, in terms of agility, in terms of capability, and in terms of technology. So we are now innovating more and more from India. I mean, for example, the most sophisticated signaling system, it's the ERTMS, it's hybrid level 3, it's a little bit technical, but the most sophisticated European standard signaling system is being implemented today in India. So we have not only moved in terms of quantity, in terms of quality, but also in terms of technological content.
Speaking about signaling, and we've had a horrific accident take place in India just a short while ago. Has there been any fresh conversation with the government on the signaling side of things with Alstom?
Well, clearly, and this was a very terrible accident and a bitter reminder about the importance of safety in railway and the importance of signaling systems in railway. So, of course, Alstom is here in India and will make sure that we can provide any technology which is being required. There is already a huge investment plan by the government to deploy signaling systems throughout the country. So we are participating to this plan, and of course the fastest, the best to avoid as much as we can, of course, this kind of accident.
I want to talk about the changes that we're seeing for Alstom globally as well, and you've embarked on a strategy to ensure that the company remains agile, remains dynamic, it responds to the challenges that we are presently faced with, but also is future ready. And as part of that is really the move towards a greener Alstom, noise reduction, passenger experience. All of those things are something that you've been focused on and working on. Hydrogen and the German launch was the big milestone that you've been able to achieve. What should we realistically expect in terms of innovation as well as further milestones that you hope to achieve on that front?
Well, you said it very well. One of our main goals in terms of innovation is to improve the environmental performance of our products. This comes through energy saving primarily, because most of our trains are electrical trains, so we need to make sure that each generation basically consumes 20% less energy than the previous generation. So we achieve that for locomotives, for metros, or the very high-speed train that we are just launching in Europe. Each time we save 20% energy. But we have some parts of the network which is not electrified. It's true in Europe, it's more so in the US, where most of it is not electrified, and it's true in India as well. And for that, we need to develop some green technology, green traction. And you have two options, if I may say: battery for short hauls, or the hydrogen option. And as you have said, this year has been a very important year in that perspective, because we have not only we have broken the record, more than 1,175 kilometers of autonomy with fuel cells, but we have, more importantly, two lines which are now under operation in Germany. Of course, we need for that to have a green hydrogen for it to make sense, and for that we need to have a complete supply chain of hydrogen. So I was as you know, discussing with Indian CEO 2 days ago. It was back in Paris, and there was a general consensus to make hydrogen as one of the future needed technology in India for the development of sustainable infrastructure in India.
The government is focusing on green hydrogen, and in fact there's been a scheme that's been announced by the government to push the production of green hydrogen and set up that ecosystem here in India. But you spoke about speaking with Indian CEOs. You also met Prime Minister Modi. He was in France for the Bastille Day celebration as the guest of the honor. What was the sense, what was the message that you got from the Prime Minister about expanding here, investing further in India?
Well, the Prime Minister was extremely positive on and welcoming on the investment and the green investment in particular in India. So it was very refreshing and very positive to hear him welcoming us here in India. All what is a sustainable agenda, net zero in 2070, as we know, infrastructure development, as well as on the Make in India. And of course, to Alstom, it's music to my ears. I mean, we have invested a lot in India to be compliant with Make in India, and not just to be compliant with the law or the policy, but also because we strongly believe that this is the way to do business in India, and it's also for the interest of Alstom to be fully embedded in the local environment, in the local infrastructure. So I think there are a lot of very positive messages which are encouraging our investment even further. So
how much would you say you've invested in India over the last 5 years, and what could you potentially look at investing in India over the next 5 years?
Well, to some extent it's a little bit exponential. We have invested more than 300 million euros in CAPEX, but more than CAPEX, for us, it's of course the capabilities and the engineering capabilities. The fact that we have more than 12,000 employees now in India, more than 5,000 engineers in Bangalore doing, I said, 25% of all our trains worldwide. I mean, this is our main investment in addition to our manufacturing sites. We have 6 manufacturing sites, but I say it's both are equally important, the physical investment as well as the know-how investment, which has been great over the recent years.
Do you intend to up your headcount at your Bangalore facility, and are you looking at any further manufacturing facilities?
We are increasing our headcount year after year in Bangalore, and that's where we are setting up other investment, other engineering centers in Hyderabad, for example. So we are welcoming, take the opportunity of speaking to you to say that we are welcoming a lot of engineers in our several engineering centers. Yes, in terms of manufacturing capacity, we are increasing our capabilities and capacities in our different sites. We have one site in Vande Bharat, for example, as you know, and we'll be relatively opportunistic on whether we extend one site or whether we open new sites. We're opening new depots. I was this morning visiting a depot. We are doing some maintenance operations and so forth. So it really depends on the different contracts that we are completing.
Okay. One of the things that I know Alstom is focused on is improving your metric as far as diversity and inclusion is concerned, and you want to have women in managerial roles, in engineering roles, from the current almost 24% to about 28% by 2025, 2026. How strongly are you pushing that, and how important is that going to be for you here in India as well?
So globally is extremely important for us. I think it's extremely important for Alstom to be inclusive, not only in its employee base, if I may say, but also on its product. So we are looking a lot on our product, how our products are designed, manufactured, developed in order to be to welcome all type of passengers, and that's of course for people with disabilities and difficulties and so forth, so that we are accommodating all our products. Internally, we are working on all kind of inclusion, diversity. By the way, we are talking about gender diversity, which is extremely important for us. We are also talking about any kind of cultural, national diversities. We are making sure that people can exchange places. For example, to take an example, a lot of Indian colleagues are traveling now around the world. So we have around 150 to 200 Indian colleagues which are employed in different sites of Alstom worldwide. So we are also mixing the nationalities and the culture so that people can be more creative. And as far as women are concerned, yes, we are putting a lot of focus on gender diversity globally. I mean, and gender diversity not in operations as well, engineering, and in India. Gender diversity is very related to local cultural habits. So we are also a lot of pushing the local management to take local actions. For example, just one of the actions that we can take in India is to make sure that women can drive safe home at night, so that if they have to stay long hours at offices, we are making sure that somebody will accompany them when they are driving back home or something like that. So all kind of, sometimes it's day-to-day actions so that everybody feels comfortable, and of course, in particular, all the women.
Well, let me end then by asking, you said that this is a unique time because literally every market of yours is firing irrespective of the macroeconomic challenges, be it Europe, the US or Asia Pacific. So what would worry you if the supply chain issues are starting to ease? Hopefully inflation will start to ease as well. What are you most concerned about today? What could impact your guidance that you've held out?
Well, today we have a very large backlog, as you have said. So the first challenge of Alstom is execution. So we need to deliver this backlog. We need to embark a lot of new people, for example, new engineers in India, several thousands of new engineers in India. We need to train them in order to deliver, to always deliver with the same level of quality and customer satisfaction. So my worry is not the market, as I said. The supply chain is improving. So the most important factor is our own internal quality and delivery capabilities. With this kind of growth, we need to be perfect in our delivery.
Well, we wish you the very best of luck with the execution roadmap, and thank you very much for joining us here to take us through what the road ahead looks like for Alstom in India and what the global outlook is as well. Always a pleasure. Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
Well, with that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of the Global Dialogue. From all of us here on the team, for now, goodbye and thanks for watching.